10 more things I've learned about America since moving here. Excited to check this out. Let's jump straight into this, man.
Hello, last November I did a video in which I talked about 10 things I've learned about America since living in the country, and at the end of that video I sort of vowed to do a follow-up video just because I had more things that I needed to list, basically, and also because the first video went super viral, mainly that. So I want to capitalize on that traffic while it's still hot, and also be quite sincere about 10 more things that I have learned since moving to the United States. So let's kick things off with something that has just been
holidays.
Yes, holidays. You know, I spoke recently how one of those holidays is not Boxing Day. We don't really celebrate that in the United States like we do in the UK and Canada and Australia and all the other sort of British Commonwealth countries. But what we do have in its place, not necessarily on the same day, but certainly throughout different times of the year, are these other sort of American holidays. So you have Thanksgiving. You get to spend that day giving thanks and devouring lots of food. I mean, it's mainly...
Yeah, I can't lie. We don't have Thanksgiving, but like the food that you guys are showing me, what you get on Thanksgiving, yeah, I wouldn't mind taking it on.
Let's be honest. But it's a lovely holiday. I've said it many a time. It's my favorite, I think, of all of the American holidays.
Oh, cool.
But it's not the only one. There is July the 4th, of course. You get that day off as well. It does, of course, celebrate America's victory over the British in gaining their independence, which I'm fine with. You know, it's been 200 and something years now, so I'm okay. Perfectly fine.
I'm sure we are.
And all that. It's a lovely holiday as well. I mean, I've talked about it in a previous video, sort of the traditions that come along with a typical July 4th. You have the parade. You have the barbecues, you have the sunny weather, so long as you are in the right part of the United States, and all of that, and a little bit of drinking, and that goes for Thanksgiving as well. But on top of that, you have Memorial Day, you have Labor Day. These are days that most people get off work as well.
Oh yeah, Labor Day's just gone, hasn't it? I'm not too sure what Labor Day is, and I was talking to Americans in my Twitch stream, and they wasn't even too sure what it is. It's just, you guys just have a day off kind of thing?
In the US. These are all days that you wouldn't necessarily get off in the UK just because we don't celebrate those specific ones. There is a similarity or a crossover, I suppose, between Veterans Day and sort of Remembrance Day in the UK. I think I assumed that most of the holidays that we have in the United Kingdom are sort of celebrated here. But like with Boxing Day, we don't really celebrate May Day, for example, over here.
Never heard of May Day.
Tuesday in the sense of celebrate May Day, for example, over here, nor Shrove Tuesday in the sense of making pancake. Pancake Day you don't really have here, although I've noticed at IHOP they started having a kind of annual pancake.
Yeah, we have Pancake Day in the UK, but that's because we don't eat pancakes as much as you guys. I wish we did because pancakes are so good. Yeah, you guys have like pancakes, waffles for breakfast. We don't have that.
Pancake Day kind of deal going on. So it is known, but it isn't as widely celebrated as in the UK. But I think that's okay. You know, the absence of sort of the holidays that I'm used to is replaced, as I said, by those other holidays that are very, very American.
Cool. Oh, the food. Oh, the food.
Ah, yes, food. And food, of course, is one of those things that comes along with a lot of those holidays, specifically in this case, Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of that good stuff, July the 4th as well. There's been a lot of American food that I've really warmed to over the years. I've made it very clear my love for pecan pie, which is a kind of southern pudding or dessert, or whatever you want to call it, which contains pecan and all kind of manner of sweet stuff and a crust, and is the most delicious thing that has ever been put on a plate in America. I can guarantee it.
Wow.
That's my opinion.
What, is that good? Pecan pie? Pecan pie is that good? We don't have it in the UK, so I just know pecan's nuts, right?
But there's a lot of other things that I like here. This is really embarrassing, but I absolutely love Arby's roast beef sandwiches. Probably.
I've heard of Arby's, right? It was mentioned, and I asked you guys what it was, and you guys said it was like McDonald's, but better.
The best fast food chain in the United States.
Wow.
But there's far more to it than that. I mean, I could list my entire menu of favorite American foods, but that would be a very long video. Perhaps it should be its own video. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see me.
I love
do
food
that.
videos.
Maybe I'll even have some taste testings.
I can't wait to get over to America and just eat and eat and eat and eat and just eat.
Camera, that could be disgusting, depending on the amount of sauce, because in fact that is something else you'll find here in America. Things are more overloaded loaded, I think, with sauce.
Oh, I love that.
You would find in the United Kingdom, usually on sandwiches and things like that.
I always, like, when I go to McDonald's and get like a burger or whatnot, I always ask for extra sauce. Always. I always need it, especially for we say chicken burger, but you guys say chicken sandwich. So when I get like a chicken sandwich from like McDonald's, I always ask for extra mayo, always, and extra lettuce.
So by the time you come to eat them, it's all falling down your mouth and onto your plate and onto your.
I don't mind that.
I've noted also that a lot of desserts taste like cinnamon, which is unfortunate because I've never really acquired the cinnamon taste. Now, it's a little bit of a myth to say that cinnamon does not exist in the UK. You can certainly get it, but I don't remember it being quite as prevalent in the UK as I've come to find it here.
No, I never see like cinnamon desserts or anything. Topography. What on earth is this? Topography?
The same is definitely true of the United States topography, and by that I mean...
Topography! I still don't know what it is.
Geological makeup throughout the country. It's set out in different layers in many ways. So you have the Appalachian Mountains out in the east, and I've been fortunate enough to drive through those to the sort of top of one of those mountains. Unfortunately, I couldn't see much beyond because it was so surrounded by trees, and that's sort of a pretty good indicator that you're up in the Appalachian Mountains, at least in that sort of West Virginia area where trees do dot themselves around the kind of hillsides and the mountains there. Still very picturesque and absolutely lovely to drive around those sort of meandering roads in that part of the world. You can get lost there, but it is incredibly nice, and been there many a time.
Yeah, I probably don't want to get lost over there, I'm not gonna lie.
But of course, then you've got the Midwest. You've got the farms of the Midwest, something I've talked about before. Mainly seems to be cornfields and soy fields, at least in Indiana, where I lived for 8 years. But you'll find this this very kind of farmland in and around not just Indiana, but Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, Iowa. I'm told it's even as far out, or as far up, I should say, as Minnesota. So that's sort of indicative of kind of the Midwest, potentially parts of the South as well. But then once you get past the sort of Mississippi River, you have the Great Plains. I've not really been fortunate enough to visit the Great Plains or the states that...
Do you know where I want to visit? I want to visit Yosemite really bad. That place looks so good.
Run through the Great Plains. That's North Dakota down to all the way down to Texas and the states in between. And, you know, I'm told that it's just flat land for the most part, and that's for hundreds of miles in either direction, or maybe 1,000 miles
flat?
going north to south, south to north. By all accounts, quite a monotonous part of the scenery, but a part of the scenery nonetheless that had to be navigated by those traveling west in the 19th century as part of the expansion west. And speaking of the west, you know you really hit west when you hit the Great Rocky Mountains. Now, the Rocky Mountains run...
Yeah, I prefer mountains over flatlands. Yes, sir.
From up in Canada all the way down to New Mexico. This is a long stretch of mountains, and a fabulous stretch of mountains. Again, I've been fortunate enough to be in them, both in Idaho and in Utah. I've also been surrounded by them in Colorado, and these are memorable experiences that I will never, ever forget. A picturesque landscape, the like of which I've never seen, certainly not in England. I think the closest you come to that, at least in terms of the majesty of the place, for me, is the Lake District, one of my favourite places.
To be fair, the UK has some okay places, like the Lake District looks nice. I've never been to Peak District. I should probably go to those places at least, but yeah, the average and the majority, it's not appealing to the eye.
This is in the whole of England, natural or otherwise, but nothing has taken my breath away quite like the Rocky Mountains, at least in the areas of the Rockies that I've been in. And I've not even been to sort of the more supposedly awe-inspiring places. I've not been to the Grand Canyon, for example, and all of these other national parks that you find out west. I am absolutely...
Yosemite, I want to go to that, man.
Determined to visit all of them, not just a few of them. If you want to find a big proponent or a big fan of American topography, and specifically the sort of the Rocky Mountain areas, then you're looking at him. That's something I'm deeply excited about, and deeply excited.
Hey, he should do videos going there and stuff, and like actually like reviewing it live. Like when I do go to America, I'm doing food videos 100%. I'm doing nature park videos 100%, and I'm just gonna travel. What I'm hoping to. I'm gonna need so much time, or just live there. It might be better if I just live there.
To visit.
Healthcare, right.
So coming down from the mountain now, US healthcare. Now, I've had my own experiences of the healthcare system in the United States. Chief among those, I think, was when Tara very inconsiderately went into cardiac arrest. Kidding again. It's part of the humor. They get it. And of course, you know, going through navigating the healthcare side of things when that happens, both through
healthcare can be bad in America, can't it? Like your guys' bills and stuff in the UK, you don't really have to worry about that at all. But yes,
insurance, and then just the quality of the healthcare that is provided. I've also had my own sort of health issues over the past year, and in the first year that I was in the United States. So I have a little bit of experience, at least at hospitals in Indiana and here in Chicago. And okay, so I will say this, you know, the bills that you get or can get if you don't have the best insurance, or if you have no insurance, as was the case for me in the past, can be quite startling. I mean, I did have a bill that was, I think it was $119,000 that came through once Tara had been through everything. Surgery, the ambulance ride alone was $6,000, I think it was, which is absolutely crazy. This was just 2 miles down the road. Now, this was when we had no insurance. It was a very...
He got a bill for $116,000 for one incident. Yo, I am telling you right now, it might actually be bad if I go to America, because I've never really done anything bad that needs hospital care. But like in America, let's say I broke a bone or something, right? And they try to like be like, yo, it's 116 grand. Chop off my leg. I ain't paying, bro. I ain't paying. Take my leg. Leave it wonky. I'll just flop around. I don't know, man. But there ain't no way. 160 grand. Yeah, you know what I need to know? You guys need to comment down below if you guys have ever had to pay for a hospital bill or whatnot. What was it for, if you don't mind, and how much? That's crazy. Because some people just came into my stream and told me that like they've gone in debt and stuff because the hospital bills had really like ruined them. Yeah, it can be bad. Really bad.
Peculiar time in our lives when that was the case, and we were just unfortunate. Thankfully, we did get financial assistance at that time that helped to alleviate that burden, and that was fine, thankfully. When you do have good insurance, you know, you're still obviously having to pay co-pays and things of that nature just to get seen to by a doctor, potentially. I mean, it depends on your insurance, let's just say that. So it's a lot different. It is a lot different from the national healthcare system in Britain, where everybody sort of pays into the national healthcare system and then gets to utilize those services. But here's what I'll say about US healthcare that I've experienced so far. It's been top notch. At least that was definitely the experience that we had during Tara's cardiac.
Bro, I'm not surprised it's top notch. You're paying 160 grand for the kit. It's gonna if it's not top notch, bro, I want my money back. Give me my money back.
Arrest event, that's what I experienced here in Chicago at the Swedish Covenant Hospital. It is, at least in this part of America, good quality healthcare. There's been a lot said about the healthcare system and how that can sort of financially be a burden on individuals here in this country, and that should be acknowledged too. But I equally want to say that the quality has been, at least for us, pretty good.
Sports, right? Okay, we know the different sports.
So sports. Well, anybody that knows me knows that I'm into about 2 sports, neither of which are cricket or rugby. Football, soccer is one of them, and tennis. And tennis is only once Wimbledon comes around every year. Other than that, I'm not really into too many sports. But here in the United States, I've noticed that people are passionate, very passionate about their local sports team, whether that be the NBA, the NFL, or the MLB, or the NHL, National Hockey.
I don't really watch sport that much. I watch a lot of football. Your guys' soccer. When in like the World Cup's on, I watch England play and stuff. That's really fun. I enjoy playing football. But you know what? I think my favorite sport to play is basketball. But I don't watch basketball. But I love playing basketball. I love it. I do like watching college football highlights and the NFL highlights as well. That's pretty cool. Never really watched a full game though. And tennis is quite fun to play as well.
League, you know, the people get very partisan about the teams that they support, and it's interesting because I noted there all of the sort of the national leagues and all of that, but there's even the college level of all of those sports, or specifically I should say basketball.
Yeah,
and perhaps
you guys
football,
love your college.
That gets a lot of television coverage as well, and a lot of support and backing. Some people even prefer, at least this is what I'm told in the case of basketball, some people even prefer college basketball to the NBA.
Wait, in college for basketball? See, I know a lot of you guys prefer college football to NFL, but I didn't know that for basketball as well.
I'm not really sure of the nuances behind that, but it is something that's very interesting to learn. In fact, when I first moved here, or at least in the first few years of living here, I remember the Butler Bulldogs when I lived in Indiana. I think they got to 2 finals in a row or something like that, and the whole of Indiana was going crazy, at least the portion that was partisan to the Butler Bulldogs, and it was interesting to see. I even got into a few of those games and was sad that they didn't win.
Capital city populations.
So speaking of Indianapolis, Indianapolis is kind of a rarity almost in the United States, in that it is the most populated city in the state and is also a capital city. Often that's not the case. It's certainly not the case here in Illinois. Chicago is by far and away the most populated city, or should I say populous city in Illinois, but not the capital. That would be Springfield. And same with New York, okay? So New York City is not the capital city. Albany is, and so on and so forth. Las Vegas is not the capital
right, so kind of don't matter.
Carson City. You can go to California. You would think LA, right? No, not at all. It is Sacramento. So in many cases,
I've never even heard of Sacramento. I ain't gonna lie. I thought LA was the capital of Cali.
Cities are not capitals, but also something that you will note is that throughout American history, a lot of the capital cities dotted around each of the states, or in the past around the territories, they've changed over time. They haven't always.
Do you know what's crazy? I just learned something massive right now, and I'm gonna seem really dumb right now. I actually didn't realize states had capital cities. I thought America had a capital, and I thought that was Washington, D.C., where the president is. I just learned something new. Sick.
Stayed the same capital depending on the state or region that we're talking about. And a lot of these big cities that we talk about now weren't always huge major cities. I mean, Chicago really started to build up its population only as recently as the end of the 19th century. And for the longest time there, it was known as the second city. So the comedy club is named for that. The second city meaning that it was the second most populous in the nation behind New York City. But it's been usurped now by Los Angeles. So in fact, the second city of Chicago is actually the third city. But I'm getting sidetracked. All that to say that capitals aren't necessarily going to be your most populated.
Yeah, I didn't even know
but
states had capitals.
About that, I come full circle.
Mad.
Indianapolis, when I lived there, was the second most populated capital city. But Indianapolis, a good city to live in and well known for the Indy 500 and all that, but it's still not one that you would immediately think of, I don't think, when you're thinking of US cities. But it was nonetheless the second most populated capital city in the entire US. Brownie points for anybody that can guess number one. I'll tell you in about 3 seconds, but think of it.
Washington, D.C.
Type it right now.
New York.
It is, in fact, Phoenix, Arizona.
I said that.
So along the lines of population, let's talk about population density, because when you talk about population...
Oh, this has to be either California or New York, right? Probably New York, because California is massive. It's going to have to be New York.
Density. Great Britain, where I'm from, a relatively small country, although rather big island, I suppose, by comparison to others, houses some 60 million people on that island. So its population density
you're rubbing
is
shoulders.
quite high. Whereas here in America, most of the states, don't have a population density anywhere near that. A lot of the United States is spread out and devoid of people.
Oh, it sounds so good.
For miles and miles. I've said it before, but if you look at the state of Wyoming, comparable to the entire UK, not just Britain, in terms of landmass, and has more cows than people. It has about 500,000 people living there. So its population density is the second lowest in the entire United States, behind only Alaska. And Alaska is higher only because its size is roughly, if you include water territories, not that you expect people to live on the water territories, but its size would be 7 times the United Kingdom, even though it does have a population somewhat 150,000 larger larger than Wyoming. But on the other side of the coin, you do have Washington, D.C., which, of course, is not a state. It's a district. But in that small area, I mean, it's
wait, Washington, D.C. is not a state? It's a district? Okay.
A very relatively small area compared to the rest of the United States. Something like 61 miles squared, but it has a population of over 600,000 people. So they're all crammed into the D.C. area, and it's a very busy place. But the state with the highest population density is New Jersey. It's...
Oh, I thought he was going to say New York, man. I thought it would be New York.
It's got a land area of just 7,354 miles squared, but it has a population of nearly 9 million. So that just should tell you everything, I think, about how just spread out this country is. But a country that is about the size of Europe.
Yeah, you guys are so lucky that how spread out everything is. In the UK, it's just everyone's just everywhere. We're just crammed. The houses are close by. You guys got separate houses, nice land. Yeah, I'm jealous, man.
And speaking of size, that brings us on to our next entry.
Everything's okay. Everyone says this.
Yes, in the last video, I did talk about how just America itself is massive. I talked about portion sizes as well, being quite a bit bigger here in the United States than I would find
way
back
bigger.
home. But really, you could name just about anything in this country, and it tends to be bigger. The cars are much bigger. The roads are much wider. The buildings are much bigger, much taller. We've got the Sears Tower, the Willis Tower here in Chicago, of course, used to be the tallest in the world. No longer. It's been overtaken by several skyscrapers around the world. It's no longer even the tallest in the United States, with the new World Trade Center Tower in New York City being built. But all of that sort of eclipses, the tallest building in London at this time. You talk about mountains, you talk about the tallest trees in the United States. You've got those redwoods.
Yeah, everything's just bigger. Compared to like the UK, everything is just massive, man.
Out west, which I've been fortunate enough to see. I haven't seen the tallest ones, but those are absolutely huge and something we just do not see in the United Kingdom, despite all of the gremliness that you do see out there. So it's astonishing. Even dogs are big. You sometimes walking down the street and you see a dog that's bigger than you on a leash. Usually these sort of big white furry ones with bushy tails. What are they? They're not even real. It's bizarre. Although I wouldn't mind having one. How
are your dogs even bigger? Like what? Just average dogs? You don't get. Why?
Rather move apartments before I do, because this place is tiny at 450 square feet. So not everything is bigger.
Words. You guys do say some different stuff.
Of course, there are words I think that have been coined in the United States. Great words, beautiful words, lovely words, fantastical words, I would say, that were coined here and are not really used anywhere else. And I've listed them in previous videos, but I'll talk about.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of videos where we was comparing British words and American words, and yeah, there's some interesting ones.
One of them right now, you've got the word conniption. The word conniption is an absolutely brilliant way of sort of describing a tantrum. You've got copacetic, again, another C word, which just means fine and dandy. You've got this word wangdoodle. Now, most Americans...
Oh, wangdoodle.
Probably don't know the word wangdoodle because it's quite an archaic
word.
One that I happened upon a little bit ago, and it's just a sort of it meant a fictional monster, and it came out of the 19th century and then sort of subsequently disappeared, like this.
Yeah, I can't lie, from the videos that we've seen, comparing words, UK will have some funny weird words as well, but the American words, there's some. What's that, Hufflepuff or whatever? There's some funny words that you guys have over there.
Fictional monster. It's almost a way of describing something like the Loch Ness monster.
Right.
So amazing.
The wangdoodle.
The reason that I kind of like that word, it's sort of indicative of quite a lot of Americanisms that have the sort of repetition of the letter O. Doodle there, but you've got boondoggle and you've got doohickey and things like that.
Oh, doohickey. What is the doohickey again? We've seen that.
Just absolutely marvellous words that I never encountered until I moved here, and you're unlikely to encounter outside of the United States, perhaps with the exception of Canada.
They're like words what you would tell your kids as replacements for swear words. Say doohickey or one doodle.
Very good chance that some of these words did make it up there. So let's say then North America has these words that are quite unique and quite fabulous.
History.
Yes, and finally, just to touch upon American history, I think a lot of the time it gets a bad rap, America, for not having a history. And I've said this many times that couldn't be further from the truth. Not only does it have its sort of European history from the Europeans moving here and everything that then ensued, but it has history that goes back thousands of years prior to that with the Native Americans that lived here and continue to live here to this day.
I feel like people just don't think America has history because I've said this in another video. Especially in the UK, we don't learn about it. Like, I'm telling you right now, we learn about everything in history but American history. That makes sense, does it? We learn about Egyptians, the Romans. I didn't really pay attention in school, so I'm not really too sure. But yeah, we didn't learn... I don't think anything about American history. Maybe a little bit, but not much.
All manner of different tribes that emerged out of it still have a presence in present-day United States. And then to take a look at the European side of things, with the Puritans coming over from England in the early 1600s with the Great Migration, aboard the Mayflower, etc., etc. I mean, what they had to go through just to get here on a 60-day journey or so across the Atlantic Ocean is absurd. And then the hundreds of years that unfolded after that. So you had the War of Independence. You had the Civil War here in the United States. So many stories.
Yeah, there's a lot to be fair.
Emerge from not just those wars, but other things. And of course, along with that comes something that I'm very interested in, and that's the development of language throughout that history as well. Like I've said before, the 20th century saw America's involvement in both world wars. It put people on the moon. It made unprecedented contributions to...
Oh, yeah. When you're talking about, like, current history, like, more closer days, then yeah, America's gonna tick every box. Like in 120, 300, 400, whatever years, right? When they talk about history, it's gonna mainly be about America. Because like you guys have done pretty much everything. The moonlight, like everything you just said right there.
The movie industry, enormous contributions to science through Thomas Edison and Tesla, etc., etc. A great history of literature. When you're talking about Mark Twain, you're talking about Emily Dickinson, Salinger, etc., etc. So marvelous history that I like to delve into. And of course, you'll see in my videos, if you subscribe to me here today, you'll get to see more of this. I like to look at that history and to try connect it to where we are today. Both
That'd be cool.
From a geographical standpoint, a linguistic standpoint, and just a sort of a societal and cultural standpoint. And those are 10 more things I've learned about the United States since moving here. Thank you for watching.
Another good video. Enjoyed that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But great video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe for more content. I'm live every single day on Twitch.tv/LPWG if you guys want to check me out over there. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.